Today on the Morning Edition, Missing or Murdered Indigenous People Awareness Day was filled with a lot of remembering and calls to action. Calls that seem to have reverberated all the way to Capitol Hill, where even Alaska's senators are weighing in. We'll share what they're doing. Plus, Governor Dunleavy isn't happy with the LNG bills, which no longer grants as many exemptions to the pipeline. We'll share what the governor is saying about the bill and why he may reach for the veto power. And later, this cool cleaning crew are grabbing bags, getting things cleaned up, and having a surprisingly good time doing it. We'll share what motivated them to pick up some garbage as the Morning Edition starts now. That's right. It's just about spring cleaning time. And we got started cleaning up Anchorage, too, even though it doesn't really look like summer's on the way. It's still been kind of rainy and muggy out there.
Yeah, we're still holding on to the rain. And always a good reminder, anytime you're out and you see trash, just pick up that one piece and throw it away. And it'll just, if we all do that and do our part, we'll continue to keep our environment a lot cleaner. Of course, we are waking up this morning to ongoing light rain showers across South Central, of course, inland locations. We are watching some of those rain showers this morning. Coastal regions, that is where we continue to favor most of the rainfall. 40 degrees is where we're currently sitting at, with winds out of the south at about 11 miles per hour. So we will see some breezy conditions across South Central today. Still expected in many areas to remain dry for a good portion of the day, but we are going to favor some light rain showers this morning. You can see rain moving up the Kenai and into parts of the valley this morning. 38 degrees in Wasilla, as well as Soldotna, 35 in Valdez, and then 38 degrees in Cordova. So the rain itself really gripping areas of western parts of the Kenai, across the Cook Inlet, and then as you head out towards the Susitna Valley, and then as you head out towards Prince William Sound, this is where we're also seeing more of that persistent rainfall, which has been with us for the past several days. Inland areas have fared much drier, and that will still be the trend through the rest of this week. But like we're seeing this morning, we'll favor some showery weather. We'll dry out later this afternoon, and then some possible more rain showers into the evening. We've already seen up to 3/4 of an inch of rain out towards Portage since yesterday morning, up to a 1/2 inch out towards Cordova, and then western parts of the Kenai into the valley. We've seen about a few hundredths of an inch to near 1/10 of an inch of that rain accumulation. So it has been a lot drier for many areas of the Kenai and then north into the valley, but we're still up under an unseasonably wet weather pattern. Those temperatures today set to warm into the 40s. We've got even cooler weather expected as you head into the interior. So coming up in my full forecast, we'll be talking about those cooler conditions over mainland Alaska, warmer in southeast Panhandle, and of course, we've got breakup that's well underway across the state. I'll have the latest on that in a 7-day coming up.
No woman should be afraid in their home community.
Joined by members of the Indian Affairs Office, law enforcement, and advocates, Alaska senators laid out the plan. Operation Lady Justice would be revitalized. It's an unforgettable image, a red-colored handprint symbolically placed over a person's mouth, silencing their story and suppressing justice. The iconic illustration depicts a horrific truth in Alaska. Alaska Natives face higher rates of missing and murdered people. The operation was started during President Trump's first term to address the shockingly high number of missing and murdered Alaska Native women. On Tuesday, Alaska's 2 senators talked about restarting this program and what impacts they're hoping to see it bring, especially in the wake of the most recent example in the case of Kelly Hunt.
I can't imagine what it feels like to be part of Kelly Hunt's family. As they have struggled with these months, not knowing where their daughter is.
I think that's significant progress, but look, we have a long way to go, and I think this is a call to action today.
A new Indian Country Violent Crime Task Force will strengthen law enforcement coordination, protect families in tribal communities, and crack down on crime and drug activity. Commissioner of the Alaska Department of Public Safety says village public safety officer numbers have improved, with now 90 VPSOs working in 57 villages. There were only 38 in 2021. One of the biggest barriers for troopers continues to be getting to a remote area quickly. Tuesday's Observance Day brought people into the streets across the country. In Fairbanks, people gathered to honor those lost and to keep the focus on families still seeking answers. Jace Bertrand tells us more.
Scenes from Fairbanks as community leaders work to bring attention to the ongoing crisis of murdered and missing Indigenous people, a crisis state lawmakers are saying they are working to address.
The point of the gathering today was to honor and bring awareness to all the missing and or murdered Indigenous relatives that we have all throughout North America. And I say North America because as Indigenous communities, we're not separated by like country and or state lines because we're here as a whole and we're here together.
Alaska Native women make up less than 1/5 of the state's population, but nearly half of all reported rape victims. There are currently 229 MMIP cases in Alaska. One of them, Sophie Sergey, ending in justice in 2022 after decades of investigations.
34 years ago, there was a young UAF student downriver, and she stepped into the bathroom in the dorm to have a cigarette. And that's how kind of all this started. Her name was Sophie Sergey. I remember standing up that hill as her death shocked the whole community.
Community members gathered in Wisconsin as well in hopes of spreading awareness that could one day bring similar justice to other families.
If you know what happened to these babies, you have an obligation to say something. Enough is enough. When you are quiet, you are compliant.
My mother was Frida Simikin Chirac, and she was taken when I was just a little girl, and she was taken by someone here in Fairbanks when she was just 24 years old. And we never solved that case for 33 years, and by a miracle, we found her remains, a hunter found her remains, and we were able to lay her to rest in Nulato.
The state has added MMIP investigators and tribal liaisons, as well as requiring cultural training for officers. Efforts which many hope will address the ongoing crisis and bring answers for families across the state. Jace Bertrand, Alaska's news source.
The Trump administration wants to expand old-growth logging in the Tongass. Southeast Alaska groups are pushing back. Tonight, conservation groups will hold a virtual town hall on the roadless rule, saying the federal government has not held independent public hearings. Organizers say more than 200 people have already signed up, and every comment will be submitted to the federal record. The push comes as the Forest Service moves ahead with the Twin 2 timber sale on Prince of Wales Island, a plan to harvest about 28.6 million board feet of timber over the next decade or more. A 45-day comment period is now open.
A reliable supply of economically viable timber is critical to maintaining expertise and infrastructure for our existing timber industry here as we make that transition to primarily young growth harvest that's outlined in our current forest plan.
We're not opposed to harvesting of trees in the Tongass, but this indiscriminate sort of just clear-cutting thousands of acres makes zero sense. Not from an economic standpoint, not from a wildlife habitat standpoint, I mean, not from a tourism recreation economy standpoint.
Newcomer says when the public has been asked about the roadless rule going back to 1.6 million comments in 2001, the answer has been the same. Keep it in place. You can find a link to register for tonight's virtual town hall on our website. Governor Mike Dunleavy vetoed the bipartisan elections bill Monday. Now he says he's ready to do the same on his LNG bills. Those bills originally exempted billions of dollars in taxes the proposed LNG pipeline would have to pay. Dunleavy says without those exemptions, the gas line just won't happen. But members of the majority say the bills went too far and the developer needs to pay their fair share. Lawmakers changed what those bills do, but if those plans get passed, they risk a veto.
And if the question is, will the bill be vetoed if it doesn't work? Why would I put a bill into law if it doesn't work? Why would I pass a bill if we have experts saying, that's not going to work? That doesn't make any sense at all. We're going to work to get a bill that works.
Lawmakers have 15 days left in the legislative session, including weekends. That could be extended if the governor calls a special session. The Interior's main electric utility faced big questions after a winter that tested the grid and strained household budgets. At its annual member meeting, Golden Valley Electric outlined what it says it needs to do next. Alex Bengal was there.
Around 800 members of the Fairbanks community gathered at the Carlson Center Tuesday to hear from Golden Valley Electric Association's leadership about the future of the utility and their electric bills.
I'm going to get up and give a short presentation, just kind of giving a status of where we're at and where we're going to be going in the future.
The venue filling with displays and activities, teaching about where Fairbanks energy comes from and how to be safe around electricity. The community just coming out of a harsh winter that tested the power grid's capabilities.
It was tough on our system, but recognizing that we do have a plan forward to try to prevent some of the shortfalls that we may have ran into or some of the struggles that we had for just keeping reliability high. We managed to fight through it.
Plans including short and long-term infrastructure improvements, with members' bills likely to go up.
They're not cheap, but they are needed to ensure the reliability going into the future.
Million described for the gathered crowd an alternative scenario where GVEA can't meet demand during the winter.
I'm not saying this to cause fear. This is just the reality of what we're dealing with here. So we want to make sure that we have the right resources in place in order to ensure the members have reliable power every year going forward.
Working to keep the lights on when the winter is darkest. Alex Bengal, Alaska's news source.
GVEA says it is responding to higher winter bills by developing a financial assistance program. Officials say it is still in the early stages with a target launch by next fall. Still ahead on the Morning Edition, one family should be watching their daughter walk across the stage to get her diploma. But instead, their daughter isn't with us. We'll take you inside their struggle to make sure she isn't forgotten by her class as they graduate.
Unseasonably wet conditions remain with us across southern parts of the state. We're also watching cooler weather drift into parts of the interior. I'll have more on that in the 7-day forecast for you coming up.
Welcome back in. 15 minutes past the hour on this Wednesday, Aaron. Yeah, we sound like a broken record.
Yeah, I mean, more rain. That is all we've been talking about. But much like we saw yesterday, we will still hold on to some dry conditions for inland areas. You can see over the last 2 weeks, we've really struggled to see temperatures climbing above average. We've been holding at near to slightly below seasonal values, and that looks to continue to be the trend as we head through the rest of this week as the cloudier skies as well as that wet weather continues to stay with us across South Central. Now, notice the temperature change across the state, particularly as you head through the interior where we're seeing temperatures about 5 to 10 degrees colder than this time yesterday. We do have a trough that's dropping south into the state, and this is leading to some of those cooler conditions, particularly into the interior, more so the central interior where we're seeing the lows this morning, waking up with those temperatures sitting in the 30s. And that is where we're also holding on to some localized areas of some wintry mix as you head through parts of the central interior. Of course, we're still favoring ongoing rain showers across South Central, and that's going to stay with us through the rest of this week. Of course, like we typically see, it's coastal activity, which will see most of the rainfall. But you can see as you head into the central interior, we're holding on to some rain really south of Fairbanks. As you head north of Fairbanks, we're beginning to see that transition into some snow, if not some wintry mix. And that comes as those temperatures have been dropping through the night in areas where it's clearer. As you head through the eastern interior where those clouds are a bit more thin, that's where we're going to be watching the potential for some frost development this morning. So be mindful of that. So there's a rain out towards Prince William Sound, western parts of the Kenai lifting north into the Susitna Valley. Of course, if you live in the Susitna Valley, we'll likely continue to hold on to some of that heavier rainfall as we head throughout the day. So rain continues for coastal regions, particularly out towards Prince William Sound. As you head from Seward out towards Homer, you'll largely stay dry today outside of just some passing showers. But notice as we head throughout the day, later this afternoon, we'll see some dry conditions for inland areas. Now, as you head into the Susitna Valley, we'll likely see persistent rain showers that will continue into the evening hours. This is why we'll likely see that potential for higher rainfall totals as you head out towards Palmer, north towards Willow, and as well as Talkeetna, more so out towards the foothills of the Talkeetna Mountains. So that will keep some of these ongoing rain showers with us as we head through the next couple of days. And you can even see by week's end, we're going to see more of those rain showers building in from the North Pacific Ocean. And that will keep the overall wet weather pattern with us. So what's going on? We've got this cool weather that's dropping south into the state that's going to interact with the moisture that we do have in South Central. And that's why we're going to see most of the heavier rainfall staying confined to Prince William Sound, as well as through parts of the Susitna Valley as we head through the rest of our, really the rest of our Wednesday and the rest of this week as a whole. And you can see cool conditions will grip a good portion of the state. Now, when it comes to the rainfall, we're not talking about widespread heavy activity like we did see Monday. But we will still hold on to that potential for up to an inch of rain accumulation through Prince William Sound. Far less activity across the Kenai, and there it is. You can see as you head into the valley, we could see amounts topping out more than half an inch. So rain showers stay with us to close out the week. But again, much like we saw yesterday, we'll still see some dry time for inland locations, just a bit more showery activity expected today, and we'll top out near 50 next week.
A national study shows some 35,000 children in Alaska may be going hungry. That's why Alaska's News Source is partnering with the Food Bank of Alaska to try and do something about it. During the month-long event called May No Child Go Hungry, the food bank is accepting donations of both food and money. They say that's particularly important because the food bank is buying more food than ever to help keep hungry children fed.
Right now, of the roughly 10.1 million pounds of food that we moved through the Food Bank of Alaska, 20% of that we purchased directly. 3 years ago, of the food that we moved, it was only 10%. So we're needing to purchase more and more food to replace what we're not getting donated.
If you'd like to help, go to alaskasnewssource.com. You can donate directly through our website or find our sponsoring partners with locations to drop off food. Revealing conversations with Alaska's compelling characters and people with extraordinary stories, from breaking news to life-changing advice to chasing your best life. We all want answers, so we asked. It's one of our new streaming shows, and you can catch it now on our streaming platforms. First up, Alton Prince. He's a bouncer and MMA fighter who was shot while working security. He survived 7 bullet wounds, and his next fight in the ring is against the uncle of the man who was accused of shooting him.
You have to go one way or another. You were with this group. They started the situation. You need to go too. And it became to the point where his buddy yelled at me, ended up pulling his mask down to yell at me. And when he did that, I was like, all right, well, I see who I'm talking to. We could still have a conversation, but I gotta get you guys to move. And the one that didn't want to pull his mask down ended up saying, well, who are you? And came off at me sideways. I said, I'm the guy out here trying to protect people. Who are you? And at that moment, he stuck a barrel to my head. I thought it was his fingers, him pushing on my head. And when I went to grab his wrist and come back, I had a Glock with a drum mag in it, 30 rounds. And I was just like, oh, great. Went to slap it out. And when I did that to disarm him, he just tucked it back in and turned on me and started putting rounds in me.
Again, you can find that episode now on Alaska's News Source streaming services on demand, which can be found on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. On our app, you can also click on the tile on the front page.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's News Source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting. Available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.